Folks at home, welcome back to the Crimson Oak Pond, and if you missed the previous videos in this series, I'll put a link down in the description below. So if you missed the last video, we went on a micro fishing trip in the pond to catch one small bluegill and one small bass for this 75-gallon aquarium. And we were able to catch the bluegill but not the bass, but we got everything set up in the aquarium, all the structure and plants, so I am determined to catch a little bass in this video. We gotta make that happen. But before we get into that, I gotta show you something that I find fascinating. And I think I'm going to add a new segment into this pond series called Piranha Playback. So most of you know that we feed the bluegills this pellet feed off the dock, and let's just say they've gotten extremely aggressive. Let's roll some clips. So we stocked this pond a few weeks ago with several hundred 2-inch bass, and at this point they may as well be ghosts. Because I come out here every day looking for them, I walk the banks trying to see if they're up there eating those smaller bait fish, and I can't see them anywhere. I don't see very much surface activity at all. The only time I've really been able to see the bass are at night under the green lights. And on top of that, I even put the boat in and went around to all of the structure piles in the pond with underwater cameras, came back and reviewed the footage, and zero. So we've had a problem with herons coming around the pond, but I'm not really worried about that. I think that these bass are elusive, and the herons may have gotten one or two of them, but there's hundreds of bass in this pond. So I decided to change my approach. Rather than just trying to film them, it's time to go with that fisherman's mentality. And after fishing for these guys all my life, I know that they are definitely most active early in the morning and late in the evening. So I decided to get up right at daylight. We got this nice foggy morning. Conditions could not be better for fishing. I've got me a small topwater popper tied on. Now we just have to make it happen. And one of the reasons I'm so anxious to catch a fish is not only so we'll have a pet in the aquarium and we can watch him and analyze these tiger bass, but I also would like to see how much they've grown, because when we put them in they were 2 inches. So just catching one or two should tell us a lot about how much they're eating and how quickly they're going to grow. And I also try to keep in mind that there's so much bait in this pond, plus we keep the lights on at night, that they may eat all day long and then just go sit down there at the bottom of the pond and cool off. And so they really don't have to be that active. So I didn't have much luck with a popper and decided to swap over to a beetle spin and start fishing some of the structure. Oh, there he is. We got him. We got us a little largemouth bass. Look at that. A little Moby. Man, he's grown. Real pale white colored. I caught him right off that tree right there. Alright, let's put him in the bucket and get him to the aquarium. First bass caught out of the pond. Beautiful morning. Alright. So we just got done picking some vegetables out of Liz's garden, and it's time to do some cooking. And just like always, we're going to be using the Kamikoto knives. And that's the one really good thing about a farm, is you've always got plenty of fresh vegetables. But we've been using these knives since we started the pond build, and I'm still extremely impressed with them. They're made out of high quality Japanese steel, and they always have a very sharp edge. But we've used them on all of our vegetables, fish, meats, and even jerky. And almost a year later, they're still holding up great. But today we're going to show you one of our venison recipes. It's jalapeno poppers and stuffed venison backstrap. And the recipe's pretty simple. You take some green onions, jalapenos, and cream cheese, and cut the meat into thin slices, then spread a thin layer on it and wrap it in bacon. And the same goes for the backstraps. You just want to butterfly it and then get an even layer of that mixture spread out, and then also wrap it in bacon. But the Kamikoto knives come in several different sets, but our favorite is probably the Kampeki. It seems to be perfect for our needs. It comes with a 7-inch vegetable knife, a 8.5-inch slicing knife, and a 5-inch utility knife. But don't just take it from me, these knives are used by Michelin star chefs all across the world. And they also come in this nice wooden box, which makes it perfect for a gift. So if you're interested in checking them out, I'll put a link down in the video description that'll give you $50 off a knife set. So we're about to put the new bass in the aquarium, but the first thing I noticed is how big he's gotten. So he was in this same 5-gallon bucket about 4 weeks ago, and he was only 2 inches long. But I would say he's at least doubled or tripled his size since then. He's probably grown to about 5 inches. And that's one of the things I want to watch closely, because these tiger bass are bred to be really aggressive and get big really quick. So I definitely want to see if his growth outpaces Moby and even Bonnie and Clyde. But we got him in there, and he acclimated really quick, and he even looks like he's got some of the same characteristics as Moby did. But now the true test is going to be seeing how aggressive he is. When Moby was this size, you could take him out of the tank, put him right back in, and he would immediately eat. Alright folks, time to do the first feeding for the new pet bass. Man, look how dark that bluegill's colors are right now. Probably feed him too right after that, but I went out and got a variety of small bait fish, and one of them that may be actually a little too big. But there's some tiny ones in there as well. We're going to start with the little ones first. Alright, this was definitely not too big for him. I don't think they see him yet. All right, here we go. Oh, they're both going for it. A little top water action. Our cat buster is definitely not helping the feeding time. I'm not sure if this one's too big for him or not, but he definitely seems interested. That might have been too big for him. Yeah, I might get that one out. He spit some scales out. Now we can't forget about feeding bluegill. Drop some pellets in there for him. And in the last video I asked you all to leave some comments for naming the bluegill, and I got several good ones, and I even had a couple picked out. But now that we've got this duo in here, I'm going to open the comment section back up, and we're going to let you name both of these, the bluegill and the bass. And if I select your name, I'll send you out a prize package, so leave your comments down below on what you think we should name these two. And it's completely up to you. You can give them a duo name like Bonnie and Clyde, or we had some other really good suggestions of names associated with our old pets like the massive bluegill sheriff, but I'm interested to see what you all come up with. I just got the aquarium backdrop put on there. I think it turned out pretty good. It'll definitely help keeping some of that sunlight out, which will prevent that algae growth. Now, he might be a little bit timid about eating other fish his first day in the aquarium, so we're going to try some worms. Got him. Bluegill's going to try one. Well, I'd say worm feeding was a success. Every time it rains, we get a rainbow that lands right there on the Crimson Cabin. The other end of it lands in the pond, right there at the island. That's pretty cool. Second time in 2 weeks. So something else I'm pretty excited about is now that we have Starlink out here at the farm, I added some additional cameras, and it's much easier to control them. And in the first couple of days, I got some incredible footage. This first clip is one of the owls flying out of the woods late in the evening, And 90% of the videos I get of the owls are nighttime shots, but you can see we've already got one flying up towards the camera, but that's a pretty cool slow motion shot. And I'm just going to guess and say that one was Hooter. Next up, we got some bucks in velvet that are making their way in near the cabin. And check that shot out. You got a nice buck there with an owl back there in the background. This is like having the National Geographic right here at the farm. So I'm really excited about these cameras. We basically have eyes in the sky everywhere, day and night. So there should be some pretty incredible clips coming up in upcoming videos. When you got a lot of farm animals, you got to have a lot of food for them. And this time of year we've been focusing on protein. Obviously with the bluegill feeders, they eat protein year-round. And here's a look at the smaller protein pellets for the bait fish. And as you can see, there are hundreds, if not thousands of them around. They love hanging around this feeder, and that's one reason I'm surprised I never see a bass around here. But also another update on the algae. It's gotten a lot better since we fertilized it a couple weeks ago. And these are the piranha pellets. This is what was coming out of the feeders earlier in the video when all the bluegills were attacking them. But with the bucks being in velvet, we've been feeding them a protein diet. And I noticed over the last couple of weeks when the deer protein pellets got wet, they would dissolve. So I got them this feeder, which is going to put a roof over their food, and hopefully that'll keep it dry. Alright, time to put some protein in it. We're going to go with the same 2 bags that I used last time. The Antler Boost, which is soybeans, peanuts, corn, and calcium citrate. And then the Purina Antler Max, that was the one that dissolved on me last time. This is the one they love, and it smells like peanut butter mixed in with some corn and soybeans. Man, that stuff smells good. All right, we'll watch the cameras tonight, see which one they eat first. It's doing its job, keeping all the pellets dry. So here's another one of those strange things about the farm. Now I've got some pet bass and I'm starting to think I have some pet deer. And they always come up right around the cabin right before dark, and there's nothing unusual about that because we got the garden and the peanuts there. But what is strange is dozens of them will lay down right around the cabin, and even when I walk outside and walk down to the dock, they don't get up and leave. Most wild deer, whenever they see the presence of a human, they get out of there. But these deer are literally so comfortable or happy with the spot that they're laying in that they don't mind me being around at all. I can literally even drive in after dark and they just stay right there in the middle of the field, right around the cabin, eating all night. Like I'm not even there. I just find it hilarious. I've seen deer get comfortable around people, but never seen them want to sleep around people before. Out here checking on things on Alcatraz Island. Oak tree's doing good, but look at what made it out here. Peanuts are growing out here on Alcatraz Island. Let's see if there's anything to it. Yep. Always gonna have peanuts on the peanut farm. They even made it out here to the island. That's pretty wild. All right, Sarah just picked her first watermelon of the year. Fixing to cut it. That's a big one, isn't it? We're having an okra picking competition. And the girls are definitely beating me.
Get it.
Got a cantaloupe. So next up is time to feed the birds. So if you saw in the last video, we started preparing a field and kind of got rained out right at the end of it. But today I'm going to come back and plant sunflowers. And we're also going to do some brown top millet and sorghum. And I'm out here getting this disked in. And here's one way you know the birds are ready for it. They're literally flying down and eating the seeds before I can get them covered up. That's a good sign that this is a good location for this field. And the friendly egret always flies around the tractor looking for crickets. Now let's check in on some of the nighttime footage, and you can see we have some deer interested in the feeder, but they're not quite sure what to think about it. And that's one of those things I find really funny, that they'll hang out around the cabin with all the humans sent around, but if you put out a new feeder packed full of food, they're still going to get suspicious and may not even eat out of it. And now you can see some more bucks coming up. They know that's where the protein source is, but they're still skeptical as well. And I think they're just waiting on one of them to get enough courage to go eat out of it. And then the rest of them are going to join. And here's another really cool clip I'm getting from the new cameras. And that's some close-up shots. And this is Al Capone. And I'm pretty sure he just pounced on a mouse out in the peanut field. But now that we can see him up close, you can see all of his mannerisms and the way his throat moves in and out really fast. And it's like their head is always on a swivel. Looks like he saw something flying over. And with all the deer hanging out in the peanut fields, you know we're going to have the coyotes lurking around. Now it's time to feed Mr. Moby. And I've been mixing it up a little bit, so he's not eating the golden shiners all the time. Last week we fed him crawfish, and this week we're going to feed him some big old earthworms. Alright folks, that is going to wrap up this video. Leave your comments down below on what you think we should name the 2 new pets. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can watch them grow in the upcoming videos. But I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and we will see you all next time.